I will show you. So let's go back here. I think it was not, I was muted. So we'll go back here. This chapter about computer hardware. A computer is an electronic device that can be programmed to accept data. It has input, process, output, and storage. Okay. The difference between data and information. Information, it has a meaning. Data, when the data is unorganized, raw data. Okay. The information processing cycle is input, process, output, storage. What is a software? Is a collection of related instructions. Okay. We gave some example of input devices like microphone. Input اللي هو like microphone. You give information to the computer. Input inside. Okay, like mic, scanner. Okay, what else? Webcam input. Very good. Okay. Output device, speaker, printer. Okay. What are internal components of the computer? Like we said, motherboard. The motherboard is the main board of the computer or the spine. On it, you can solder, or it can be like socket. Okay. And it has the BIOS. BIOS is basic input-output system. This is the motherboard. These are the major components on the motherboard. And sometimes they ask you, give us the name of major components. We have the microprocessor, CPU. We have chipset, ROM, cache memory, expansion slot, connectors, disk drive interface connection, and standard I/O. I/O يعني input-output connections. Okay. The central processing unit, CPU of the computer. It is the electronic circuitry that carries out the actual processing and is usually referred as the brain of the computer. CPU is the brain of your computer. All the operations are done inside the CPU. Everybody else is helping the CPU. Okay? Or some people, they call it processor. The CPU is given instruction and data through programs. The CPU then fetches the program, يعني looks, بيطلع البرنامج, okay, and bring the data and then execute the instructions. Okay? Is it clear? The three main components of the CPU are registers. Okay? The CPU stores the data as well instructions in its local memory called registers. And when it wants to execute a information, it will bring the data from the big storage and use it as register to store it temporarily until it executes the data. You know, in your car, you have like petrol combustion. You have the oil in the tank, but when the engine needs oil, the combustion, it will not be in the tank. It will bring to the carburetor with some oil, and then it will do the combustion there. Okay, this is just to make it easier. All right, but now I think many of you maybe have electric cars, so you don't need to. All right. So we have registers, then we have arithmetic logic units, ALU, and ALU performs all the arithmetic and logic operations that need to be done as per the instructions in the computer, in the program. We have also the control unit, CU. It controls sequential instructions execution. interprets instructions and guides data flow through the computer memory. ALU and input or output devices. This is all done through the control unit. The data flow is managed by the control unit. عشان هيك we call it control unit. But who is doing the arithmetic operations? The CPU. Okay. Which part of the CPU? ALU. This is, by the way, my processor. You see here the processor. This is the socket. Processor is put here on the socket. Chipset. These are microprocessor support devices that coordinate how system hardware interacts with the CPU and motherboard. There are two types of chipset, by the way. They ask about this. North bridge. This is for high speed access to the RAM. South bridge. Slower speed, communicating with hard drives, USB, expansion slots. So know the difference between them, please. Input devices, these are, we already talked about input device. They convert the input data into digital form that is accepted by the computer. Data entered through input device is temporarily stored in the main memory called RAM. Okay. If you want permanent storage, the data as well as instructions are stored permanently in additional storage locations called secondary memory. Other input device, we have keyboard, mouse, we have ADF, flatbed scanners, joystick. Okay. This, you know, the sign machine, the thumb sign in, log in, when we log in there with this finger, thumb, this is input device. Okay. This is the ADF. There are nowadays new input devices such as touch screen, stylus, magnetic strip. Please take 1 minute looking at this. Because sometimes they ask you in the exam, give us some examples. Any questions? The most recent are NFC devices and terminals. NFC stands for near field communication, such as, you know, these devices, tap to pay, card, you know, or facial recognition scanners, fingerprint scanners like the one we have here at the entrance, or maybe virtual scanners, okay, and so on. We have also virtual reality headsets. You know, these glasses, they can be input device, by the way. Output devices, they take the binary information from the computer and convert it into a form that is easily understood by the human. For example, speaker, headphone, monitors, and projectors. The computer memory. Each computer needs memory to store the data and instructions for processing. Okay. When we say memory in general, we are talking about the main memory or the primary memory. The secondary memory, usually we call it a storage device. This secondary is stored permanently and forever, unless we delete it. Units of memory, we have bit, 0 or 1. Byte is, how many bits in byte? How many bits in a byte? 8 bits, very good. Here we have some example of the numbers. Okay. The types of memory, we have RAM, we have ROM. RAM is Volatile. Volatile يعني it depends on electricity. You have electricity, it's working, the data is saved. Electricity is down, the data is erased. That's why it's called volatile. Okay? And it is located on the system board. We have different types of primary memory. We have the RAM, which is, I just mentioned, volatile. We have the ROM. ROM is read-only memory, and it's non-volatile. Even if you switch off the power, it stores the information. Okay. What do we have on the ROM? ROM is smaller in size, such as the startup program. Okay. Then we have also something more expensive. It's called cache memory. It is faster than secondary storage, but not as fast as a computer processor. So because of RAM, a CPU may have to slow down to speed up the operation of the CPU. A very high-speed memory is placed between the CPU and the primary memory. This is called primary cache, and it's more expensive, and it is faster than RAM. Okay. The secondary storage, like what? Hard disk, DVD writer. Okay. What else? SSD. You know the SSD? Nowadays, the hard disks in the laptop, you don't hear any noise, huh? This is SSD, static. Before, in the old days, we used to hear the cylinder of the hard disk moving. Okay. And SSD support very fast data transfer. Okay. And storage devices inside the computer connect to the motherboard using serial AT attachment connection, SATA. This is one example. Yeah. This is the SATA. You see the cable next to the hard disk. Then we have also card adapters or expansion slots. If you have a computer, you want to make the graphics faster, then you buy a graphic card, for example. Then you install it on the motherboard. Where you install it on the motherboard? In the expansion slot. Okay. So the card is called adapter card, or maybe we have network card. So these are the examples: sound adapter, network adapter, video adapter, USB adapter or card. Okay. So these, they look like that. You need to know how they look like. So these are adapter cards. These are where we install them. So it's called expansion slot. Okay. Any questions? Case. Case is the package of your computer. Like if you look down here, this is the casing. You look down, you have this. We have different type of cases. And there are ways to describe a case. We call it factor, form factor. It refers to the physical design and look of a case. Okay. We have horizontal case. You can see the pictures here. Horizontal case. Okay. We have full-size tower, compact tower, and all-in-one. Power supply. Of course, the computer needs power. Okay, power is coming from the government or the house. It's coming AC. The computer has power supply. It will convert the power into DC, for example. Okay, and into lower voltage. So this is the power supply. Coming out of the power supply, you will have some connectors. And you have cooling system. Why? Because your computer is running, so the CPU will become hot, or your graphic card will become hot. So you should have some sort of cooling system, like in the car. And you have to make sure that your components are not hot, very hot, because computer components perform better when they kept cool. And computers are kept cool using active and passive cooling solutions. شو يعني active? Active solutions require power. Passive solution does not need power. Passive solution for cooling usually involve reducing the speed at which a component is operating or adding heat sink. Okay. Type active like what? Fan. Okay. Any questions? Okay, these are the references for this chapter. Now